Hello everybody, this is a recap of what we did in class today. So the first thing was the PDN, which was an argument quiz. So if you open up that assignment on cycle 16 of your classwork tab, you'll see a link to the Google form. It is all multiple choice and based on things that we did in class over the past few weeks. So when you are finished with that, you are ready to move on to the main agenda item for today. That main agenda item is called annotating an argumentative text. So there is a Google Doc connected here. If you click on that, you will see that the assignment is to read an article, annotate it, and then there are some questions at the bottom. So I will show you what that is. So up here at the top, there are directions. As you read, there are a couple things you should be doing. Underlining anything you think is a main argument of the author. Highlighting in yellow any support for those main arguments. And using the comment feature to make notes. So if you have questions or comments to make, you can do those with the comment feature. Title of the article is the American Dream Still Possible? And the author's name is David Walachinsky. This link here will take you to a YouTube video that gives you the audio version of the article with Spanish subtitles. So you are welcome to use that if you need it. So what we did in class is that I read the first 6 little chunks so that I could model what I would annotate and why. And then what comes after that is a series of anecdotes, of stories about different Americans who are struggling with the American dream. To make it easier to see where one story begins and ends, they are color-coded. So this red story here is about Richard Oden of Conyers, Georgia. Then there is an orange one about Shelley Comer of Dos Palos, California. A green one for Randy Omark and Sherry Morris of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And a blue one for Simone Lovano and Miguel Gutierrez of New Mexico. Then there are some that are not highlighted because that is the author speaking, in this case giving his conclusion. And at the end there are 5 questions. All of these are opinion-based. So the first one gives you the author's definition of the American dream from the article and asks you if you agree or disagree with that definition and why. Second question is asking you to copy and paste a detail from the text that you agree or disagree with and explain why. Third question, what questions did you have while reading the text? You must list one. It can be a question about anything you see in this text. And then number 4 and 5, which color of support did you find most convincing and why? And which did you find least convincing and why? So all that is asking is which one of these people's stories did you find the most convincing or the most relatable? And which one did you find the least relatable? And then explain why. So as long as you are answering these questions as they're asked and giving your reasons, explaining why, you can't really be wrong because it is asking your opinion. All right, so I will read the beginning part and do my annotations so that you can see what I did, and then your job will be to complete it. To be middle class in America once meant living well and having financial security. But today, that comfortable and contented lifestyle is harder to achieve and maintain. Parade commissioned Mark Clements Research Incorporated to survey Americans nationwide about their finances and outlook for the future. Contributing editor David Walachinsky, author of recent articles on where your tax dollars go and on pork barrel spending, interprets the results. The traditional American dream is based on the belief that hardworking citizens can better their lives, pay their monthly bills without worry, give their children a start to an even better life, and still save enough to live comfortably after they retire. But many average Americans are struggling, squeezed by rising costs, declining wages, credit card debt, and diminished benefits, with little left over to save for retirement. So as I'm reading this, I'm going to decide to underline that entire second chunk because we're underlining the main arguments. So I think that this is a main argument he's making here. This is what the American dream is defined as. And his thesis here, many Americans are struggling to achieve it. Does the dream survive? Do most Americans still believe they can forge better lives for themselves? Parade surveyed more than 2,200 Americans, of whom fully 84% describe themselves as belonging to the middle class, regardless of where they live. Living costs are higher in some regions, or the size of their household. For this report, we focused on U.S. households earning between $30,000 and $99,000 a year. Most of those surveyed describe themselves as married and having a family. More than 64% say they are employed full-time or part-time. Most say they are in reasonably good health and have a satisfying religious or spiritual life. They own a home and at least 2 cars, and they are able to take vacations. By international standards, they live a life of prosperity. So I think I would highlight this. And then maybe add a comment over here. It sounds like these people are doing pretty well. It gives me a lot of information about the type of Americans that we're talking about here, right? He has said up here, average Americans are struggling. And we know now who those people are, the support for the idea of the average American. Yet behind this prosperity is a growing unease. Half of the employed respondents say that they have experienced either increased healthcare costs or a cut in health benefits over the last 3 years. And 39% have had cuts in their overtime, raises, or bonuses. Almost 2/3 say they live from paycheck to paycheck, and 47% say that no matter how hard they work, they cannot get ahead. More than 1/3 worry about job loss. So I'm also going to highlight that. So this is giving us support for the idea of the traditional American dream. The second one, paragraph 6, tells me how, or shows me how these people are struggling. So that gives support to this main idea, that many average Americans are struggling. So I have 1 underlining and 2 highlighting so far. A main idea is underlined, and then support for those main ideas is highlighted. Your job is to do that with the rest of the article, starting with paragraph 7, down to paragraph 24, and then to answer the 5 questions at the bottom, and when you submit this doc, your work is done.